Hello and welcome. I am your so serious one who cares way too much what you think. I'm Michelle Welch.
And I'm the not so serious one. Don't give a damn what you think. Your host, Roger Welch. So what's up today, Michelle?
Well, a lot. First of all, it's your birthday.
Ooh, yes.
Did y'all know, officially, it's Roger's birthday. He's
But we
officially
celebrate for a month.
65 today.
What the fuck? Really?
So he's, pardon him. It's his birthday, though, so he can do whatever he wants, right?
Yes, I can.
Oh, no, I am red. No, so it's his birthday. We've been celebrating for a couple days.
And we still got 3 more weeks to go.
Yeah, a whole month for Roger's birthday.
It's Scorpio season. What can you go wrong there?
Mercury retrograde and in Scorpio. So watch out during this Mercury retrograde, just let me tell you, because have y'all had relationships? Well, first of all, have y'all had relationships? That's not bad.
Well, let's hope they've had.
Well, let's just go there. No, but, you guys, thanks for coming on. We were going to have Neil on tonight, and he hurt his back. He posted all these things of
You mean
climbing.
He was being too strenuous?
He in the woods, he was climbing all these trees and posting all these pictures.
Well, he is an old man. He can't do that.
And so he is going to be on another time.
Sorry, Neil.
So you guys dropped by, and I asked you guys, and thank you so much, Tracey and Jennifer, for being on. We appreciate it.
So excited to be here.
Yeah. So what was I saying before that? So it's your birthday.
My birthday.
And I spent the whole day at the surgeon. So not getting surgery, but talking to a surgeon and getting blood drawn and tests run and all that kind of stuff. Tracey and we were talking back and forth and how sometimes it's just a big waste of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? But just so you can tell everybody I did it. I went, right?
Getting started.
Yeah.
Getting it started.
Anyway, so tonight we're going to discuss kind of shadow work stuff, and we called it right before the show started because this is what I wanted to call the show. I wanted to call it Dealing with the Dark Side.
Dark side of the moon?
Well, of us.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I think that all of us have a dark side, if you want to call it that, a shadow side. I think that sometimes people call it a shadow side because they want to make it sound better. What do y'all think about that?
I think they call it the shadow side because, well, if you want to think of it in terms of how you're actually positioning yourself, you don't necessarily always see it. So it's kind of behind you. It's kind of out of sight. So it really gives that perspective of there's a shadow lurking around. It's that side of you that you don't want to see, and it calls for your attention at times.
So I've got a question. Could a shadow side then be something that you've repressed? Because a lot of people say it's things you repress. But it's there. It's in your subconscious, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So, but couldn't it be something maybe that you've repressed that could be a better part of you? Does it always have to be the dark side?
Yes. I agree completely with that. I believe that we have a light shadow, so to speak, quote unquote, and a dark shadow. And that there's just different little perspectives of what is it that we suppress, be it something that was really painful or something that we just don't characterize ourselves as.
Right. So maybe there's something really wonderful about us that we just are not willing to accept about ourselves. And that could be a shadow side too, I think. What do you think, Tracey?
Well, I believe that we have, because it's different for everybody.
Right.
I believe that we have just the one shadow, and we stuff whatever it is that we're not willing to acknowledge down into that. And if we're not willing to acknowledge those good things about us, especially, those of us who have had lifetime of dealing with abuse and low self-esteem, those good parts of us get stuffed back down there too. And it doesn't go anywhere. It's still there because the one thing about the shadow is it's always attached to us.
Yeah.
We're not like Peter Pan. We can't cut our shadows off.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go anywhere. But yeah, bad, good, everything can get down there if we're not willing to acknowledge it.
So when people talk about shadow work, I hear that phrase a lot. What would you guys say that would entail if you were working with somebody? And we can start with you, Tracey, and then Jennifer. What would that, just briefly, what do you think shadow work is?
When I do shadow work with people, it's normally because they've started digging into spirituality as a whole. And when you start looking into those parts of yourself that you want to grow, whether it's, in stuff that's considered light work or just, digging into more of, okay, why do I believe what I believe? You're opening that door for betterment and for growth, and your shadow doesn't want to be left out of that. These are parts of you that are still part of you, and they're going to come out when you start working on expanding and growing and really looking into who you are as a whole. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times these little things start popping up, and for some people, they're not even aware that it is an issue. They're not aware that they've put that back down there. So when it comes up in tarot or it comes up in healing work, it's something that has gone subconscious that is trying to get people's attention.
Mm. Yeah. How do you feel about that, Jennifer?
I agree with that. When I work with people who are wanting to either expand in their spirituality as well, the shadow piece comes up because there's a part that I kind of introduce with them of acceptance. And acceptance means accepting your whole self. And that means accepting the bad parts, the painful parts, the things that you don't want to, or you don't even feel like you are connected to. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge piece for people to kind of start to work on that inner work and start unraveling those pieces, so to speak. So when I think about shadow work, I truly think of it as like a way of their acceptance, that they're starting to learn who they are, be it the surface level plus the other side that people also recognize that they may not recognize.
Right. So if you don't work on your shadow aspects, could it be that sometimes you project those things onto other people? Isn't that a big issue with when we keep those things repressed?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that can cause problems if you don't work on it.
Especially in relationships with retrograde right now.
Oh, yeah. So just briefly, we'll tell you guys, Mercury retrograde comes around more often than, this isn't a thing on Mercury retrograde. We've done plenty of these. But it's when Mercury appears to be moving
in the opposite
direction or backwards. It's an illusion, but it's a time actually for a lot of what I call rewords, like rethink, relax, reflect, a lot of those kinds of words. It's a good time. Mercury has to do with communication, so it's a time when you want to be more careful with your texting, things. I think especially texting, because I think that already has a lot of room for misinterpretation because you don't feel tone and things like that. So, why'd you say that? What do you mean by that? Those kinds of things come up a lot in Mercury retrograde. Also travel. I'll tell you guys an interesting little thing that happened with us. We signed a contract on a house. Yay. And but the interesting thing is I was like, crap. I mean, every time I'm thinking about doing something, it's Mercury retrograde. Like every single time, because it comes around. It's like, really, we're over there. Or it's Mercury, or it's something in retrograde. Or it's in the shadow period, right? And so we actually signed, we had been negotiating everything. We signed the day before.
2 days.
And 2 days before. And then, of course, we've already negotiated everything. And then we close the day after. So there you go. We avoided it. But I'm always the one saying, as a lawyer, it's like, this is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Sorry, all you astrologists, but there's no way that you can just tell a judge, I'm not going to do that. So I just take issue with it, because there are going to be times when you're going to have to sign some things and have to do some things that are during Mercury retrograde. And to me, there's a reason for that. It's just teaching you to be more careful with what you're saying and what you're doing. So just got all the astrologists mad at me. Well, I mean, come on. You can't change it. So then you're supposed to just live in fear all the time. Oh, it's Mercury retrograde. That, to me, it could be...
gives you a good excuse not to do anything.
That's exactly what it would be. A good excuse. I'm not going to go to court today. I'm not going to... If I'm a banker, I'm not going to do any transactions during all of Mercury retrograde. Really?
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way.
You lose a lot of business.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, as far as with the shadow, do you have any questions about it?
No, I was confused. I thought it was Groundhog Day. I'm sorry.
That is what you told Will. What do you mean by that? Oh, like it sees its shadow. Did it?
It's not till February.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Woo!
Okay, so Do you have to be, and I don't think there's have tos, but do you guys think that you have to have someone who knows how to regress you in past life stuff in order to deal with to do shadow work?
No.
No?
Because so I do sound healing, and healing in general, and especially sound healing, and it deals a lot with things you can't actually quantify. We do healings on people, and sometimes we can't pinpoint, oh, this started in this particular point in your life. If it does come up, then it comes up, but a lot of the work we do, we don't know why or how. And when it comes to like music especially, we can hear a song and start crying and not know why we're crying. And that's because the catharsis of it, that healing without knowing what's being healed, is
But it can
coming
still heal
through.
us.
Yeah. So we don't have to know why or how. And a lot of times when you do healing, it is repairing those past life issues. It's repairing soul fragments that have been left in this current lifetime.
Agreed.
So is it interesting to kind of know and to talk to somebody who works in regressions and who works in pinpointing and walking you through reorienting those soul fragments? Yeah, but it's also, it can be expensive, and it can also be a lot of traumatic work too.
Right.
And sometimes it's better for us to heal in the subconscious.
What do you think about that?
No, I absolutely agree, especially with the point that you made regarding soul fragments. I mean, even though that we are in this current life, right, there's this aspect of us that we, well, at least I debate with friends and family of, is there a true time period of a timeline to say that we have past life or, future lives, or is it just going to be a little bit different? That's a whole nother topic, I understand. But when we think about that in terms of past life regression, I think that you're still going through lessons. You're still going through your own soul's memory of what's taking place at any time frame of that soul. So it's still going to come through. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to know or have to go through that regression in order to heal it. There's going to be things in our life that we don't understand that is healing us, and we just accept it through that moment. And it could be through a song. It could be through a conversation with friends or family that really was just touching and you needed to hear on a soul level. So I don't believe it at all. It's definitely interesting, but I don't think you have to have it.
I think there's a lot, in my opinion, it is always interesting, but I always want to, anything when people start talking past life, for me, I want there to be a point to it. Yeah, that's interesting, but why do I need to know about this? Why do I need to know that, that was the 100th person who was Cleopatra or whatever, or 1,000,000th person, and they all want to hear that they were somebody wonderful. Every time I do past life work, and I don't do that much anymore because I think they all blend like you do, like future lives, parallel lives, all those things. I mean, who am I to say which one I'm in at any given time?
Exactly.
And it feels like I'm in like a bunch. So, but I don't know. I'm always a potato farmer, so maybe that's why I don't want to. A poor broke ass potato farmer. Maybe that's why I don't care so much about past life.
Probably why you like
regressions.
mashed potatoes and potato
That's
chips.
why I love mashed potatoes. Yeah, for sure. Well, so did the whole concept of the soul healing really start with like Jung and Freud? Or was it like, were they the ones who brought it up the most? Or was it Edgar Cayce? It was Carl Jung, or Jung, however you say his name, and Freud, right?
Well, that's been going on for as long as there have been people, because it's an element of shamanism.
So really it was a shamanism that, and you and I have talked about that brought up all this, and the soul fragments and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So they weren't the ones who discovered the shadow side and all that, even though in psychology a lot of people.
Jung brought it into psychology.
Jung. Okay, yeah, it's Jung.
And he brought it into psychology, and he actually, for a long time, his family wouldn't admit it. It was like this secret thing, but he'd been doing little like spirit walks with a spirit guide, and he'd been recording his adventures with his spirit guide in these little black books. And when it got to a point where he was able to kind of work with them more, he was writing up, a synopsis of what happened, and this bigger book, this bigger red book, because black to big red book. And on the one side, there was the description of what he'd done, and then there was a mandala or a drawing or a painting on the other side that kind of, brought everything together. And that's actually an interesting example of, kind of healing through without knowing, because when you look at these mandalas or these drawings, they incite some kind of feeling in you.
Yeah.
And he had this little red book that he would make copies of, and he would loan to friends and family. But when he died, his family was like, "Oh no, we're not going to let them publish this," because he was known for.
You have
psychology.
it though, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do.
They
I have a copy of it.
finally allowed publication of the red book. I believe about 10 years ago.
Okay.
But
Yeah, she has it in her office right there. Yes.
It's gorgeous.
So Tracey leases from us here at Soultopia, and she does all healing, readings, and song healings, singing, like it's very shaman type work, singing through crystals and singing into your crystals. If you have crystals, special crystals, you can bring them in, and she'll sing into them for you. And Jennifer has been around for some time. She's a life coach.
Yes.
And is going to, I think, be teaching a class pretty soon here at
Yes.
Soultopia, right? So we've got two people here that know quite a bit about shadow work. Let me ask you this. So when I wanted to call it dark side, okay, your dark side, because that just sounds so interesting.
Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah.
I can sing in crystal too, see.
So does shadow work have anything to do with, is it a different topic when you talk about somebody who is maybe lost in, for lack of a better word, because I understand everything's energy and energy is really neutral. I get that, okay? I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but it's neutral. We assign a label to it. But let's say it's darker, what we would call, some people would call darker energy. When somebody maybe gets lost in that dark side, maybe in their shadow, is that what you think some people would label as, like, in the extreme, like a possession? I'm just asking.
So if you look at it in the idea of everything, including our shadow, is energy, then, people who deal with the idea of possession or negative energies, and you have people that will label something positive energy, neutral energy, negative energy, and, I've been surrounded by this negative energy, or I have this negative energy affecting me. Well, if we look at it as, okay, all energy is the same, and we are part of that all energy, then it is part of us.
It is.
And it's not separate. And part of the thing that scares people is they don't want that to be part of them, because they don't want to acknowledge that and then say, okay, well, if I have the ability to be the same as this negative energy, then I can tell it to GTFO.
Yeah. So if I have such anger towards somebody that I feel like in a moment of rage, I might do something that would be a completely dark thing, is that somebody being possessed, or is that somebody just acting from their shadow side that's been repressed?
I think it's, I don't think it's possessed at all. And when I think of possession, I think of it as literally what the word is. And just to kind of break it down in a different form versus energy. If it's part of your shadow, your shadow isn't necessarily possessing you, because you are your shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are your wholeness with that shadow. So in that regard, I don't think it's possession. I think that you're just, acting on a darker side of yourself. And we have a very large range. We just sometimes don't want to believe that we do,
Right.
but due to circumstances, sometimes we dip into that side and we get to see what is possible.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, makes
do you
sense.
think?
That makes sense to me.
You know, you made me think of something else earlier. One of you guys, we all were maybe both of you were talking about you on the songs. You know, you don't have to know why it's helping you. You don't have to know, understand and all that kind of stuff. And it can heal you anyway, right? It can help you. It can move you. It can take you to a better place or maybe a different place, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have to think, and this is a little off subject, but let's keep it to shadow work, but it seems like it could go to any type of healing or energy work. Do you have to believe that it's going to work? Do you think? I'm sorry, I'm throwing it at
No,
y'all.
I love
these are
these
deep
questions.
topics,
This is
but
good.
I think you don't. Okay, I just don't think that you have to completely have faith all the time, because who's really going to have that much faith? Not that many people.
So
unless they're really gullible.
This is what I think of it, and this is, I think, a really interesting fact that you're asking. Do you have to believe? Is the belief that you're talking about living in your ego side that it could also be living in your shadow side? Mm. And if so, then it could just simply be, your ego kind of stepping in and wanting to kind of keep you small, right?
Right.
Or and I know that's a whole other topic again, but
yeah.
that's part of it, absolutely part of your shadow. So if you think of it in that terms, I don't think you have to believe. If your higher self, if your soul knows, maybe your ego and your conscious side, it just isn't ready to accept it yet.
Right. What do you think, Tracey?
I agree, and especially because if you consider that, a belief is something that you have to be consciously aware of, then, you've got the stuff going on in your subconscious. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A belief would be limiting in a lot of ways, because you have to believe that you have to have actually formulated that belief in your conscious mind.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions?
I'm good.
You're just here for the ride.
I was worried about the possession thing. I was like, wondering if I should move my chair over.
I've been
closer
there.
to the dark side.
I was trying to check her energy over here.
No, it's just interesting to me. I find it interesting how people are so quick to label all kinds of energy. We all probably do it at some point. We all have a judgment. We all pass it on. There's something, I was thinking about that. There's something everyone will be a little bit judgmental about. Mm-hmm. They can say they're not, but we all have that trigger of something that's happened in our life, like, you better not touch my dog, or maybe they're not taking care of their dog the way I would take care of my dog, and that's a trigger, right? Mm-hmm. Or something. So we all have
sleeping in the bed.
We all have judgments. So, ours completely takes over the whole bed. Loki's like, oh my gosh. But do you know what I mean? I mean, so there's so many judgments we pass when we say we're not judgmental. So I think we do assign labels to energy, even though I guess in this earthly form we really can't fully understand that everything's neutral. Maybe it's not neutral. It's just all energy.
Yeah.
It's all the same. It's the label we put on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my whole thing about transmuting energy comes in, is I'm like, fine, I'm tired of just saying, oh, you have such much negative energy, I'm going to run away from it, and I'm going to hide. I'm like, okay, if you want to shoot that negative energy, fine, I'm just going to take it, and I'm going to transmute it for vitality for myself. Because if you're just throwing it out there like that, why not? And so we can transmute too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So shadow work, what does it have to do with archetypes? Let's just touch on that briefly, and then we'll move on. One of y'all go.
When I think about archetypes, again, it kind of lives with that same sense of ego, in my opinion, and we all have an archetype that we fall into, but that archetype is also attached to some sort of experience that we've had. Mm-hmm. So with that experience, with the emotions, whatever it might be, it is that inner work still, and that archetype is just kind of defining itself, and it can speak up in your ego side, or in your, as you're hearing yourself think about decisions that you're making in your life. That archetype comes up because it's trying to guide you one way or another, but is it that part of that shadow side again? Right. So, I really love shadow work because it really does start to help you identify who you are as a whole, and those archetypes are a huge characteristic part of it.
All right. Tracey?
So, with archetypes, there are some really amazing things that comes with embracing them in a lot of ways. But defining yourself completely by them, that's problematic because, like, okay, archetypes can be almost anything, honestly. So if I say I'm a Cancer, so I am all of these things and I'm not any of these things, we all know that that's not entirely true. Right. But archetypes can be empowering in some ways too, because, like, for example, I've always experienced being male and female genders.
Right.
Until I learned that that was actually a thing, that there was a name for that. I felt like there's something wrong with me. Mm-hmm. But when I was able to say, okay, this is the thing, this has a name. And I was able to, I mean, I know I'm more than just the label of being by gender. But being able to have that label, you know, for just at least the time being, made me feel like there wasn't that thing that was wrong with me, that I wasn't just like, and it's a lot, I hear a lot of things in the LGBT community that are the same thing. You know, when I learned that there was a name for this, when I learned that this was something that other people experience.
So it can help.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to put you in a box. It can give you some parameters to help you know you're not the only one, that there's actually been a label put to it. And then you may decide later, I don't totally fit exactly in this label, but the label helped me at first. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I think that's a great example of so many people I know and that who go through a lot of things where they think they're the only one. Mm-hmm. Especially like I'm talking women after they have children, you know, postpartum depression. I mean, before there was a label for that, it may not look the same for every single person. Mm-hmm. But, you know, can you imagine to feel like you're the only one who maybe wants to harm your child? It may not be that extreme, but sometimes it is.
Or to feel like you're a bad mom.
Or feel like you're a horrible mom because you're not just immediately bonded with that child, right? And so there's a lot of examples of that. Yeah, thanks for that. So I think the archetypes, they're sort of labels, right?
Yeah.
And they are. I mean, but they say they're universal. And at least it gives us a place to start. I love that, to feel like we're not alone. Or that we're not the only person feeling that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think eventually probably a lot of people break outside that box. Maybe that's why there gets to be so many letters in the LGBT. You know what I mean? They're saying, well, wait, but here's a variation of that, and here's a variation of that, and here's a variation of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does. Okay. What you got?
A giveaway?
Okay. What do you want to give away?
This. Don't say it. Not like the Amityville Horror House. Because tonight,
Wait, what?
like last week, when
Oh, I gave the answer
you gave
away.
the answer away before we actually gave it away.
I was like, surely.
Y'all saw that, right?
Okay, so I'm sure everyone watched, but if you didn't or listened,
Go back and watch it. She gives the
Listen.
answer before we ever
well,
get
that's
to it.
because he goes, now if you can identify this house, and I'm like, well, surely it's harder than the Amityville Horror House, because that would just
I was trying to make it easy so at least somebody would win.
That would be so easy.
Well, how
Of course,
about
that was
this?
the answer.
Can we see it? So this crystal here is what we're giving away tonight. But you got to tell me what it is. And I'm not telling you. Michelle's not telling you.
Okay. Do they have to say everything about it? Or
Well,
just
I would like
the
to know.
main-
I would even like to know why you think we're giving this away tonight.
Ooh.
How
That's
about
a good
that?
one.
Be pretty good, right?
Yeah. I'd like to know what you think.
I have no idea. Hey, wait, can I can we hit rewind and let me answer that again? What was that? Because it's pretty.
Oh,
Because
my.
it's pretty.
Okay, so, Roger.
No, Nikki.
Roger.
Yes.
So, what do you think about shadow work?
Turn the lights down low. Get some candles going. Oh, not that type of shadow work.
No.
Oh, well, damn.
Well, tell me, what do you think about it?
I think it's
honestly, are you at all interested in shadow work?
I am, and I think it's something we do have to do. We have to address eventually. I think a lot of people, things happen and they try to stuff it down in themselves, put it behind them, hence shadow, right? But they try to not deal with it. They don't want to deal with it. And until you deal with the things in the past that's traumatized you or, made you maybe not be able to get past certain situations in life, you're just going to have problems. I mean, you got to get past those things, and you got to work on the shadow side to make it, to push forward in life.
Because your subconscious just never
Yeah.
forgets.
I mean, the thing is,
Correct?
if
Yeah.
you don't,
I mean-
you're just stuck. You're just stuck into that situation.
Yeah.
And you could easily be stuck in that time period. You just never, progress beyond that time.
Do you guys think the subconscious is where the ego resides?
I think part of it does, yes. Absolutely.
What about you, Tracy? It's a hard question, isn't it? Or maybe not.
Well, part of it definitely does. I think it just kind of depends on how self-aware you are.
Okay.
Nikki got it. She guessed twice, though, but she got it on the second guess. Black tourmaline for protection.
Mm-hmm. And
And it brings
it
out
deflects, absorbs, and
transmutes.
transmutes.
Transmutes, yeah.
Yep.
So we were talking about that earlier, the transmuting of energy. So, and it's like, they got the really pretty mica around it too.
Yeah.
that
Yeah, this was
formed.
actually a nice one because it does have a lot of mica coming up to give it that kind of silvery flash on it on both sides.
What's the
and in the
orange
top.
juice stuff?
It's a tourmaline too, isn't it? Isn't
Well, I think
tourmaline
it
in there?
was from the Matrix that it was
Yeah.
formed in.
Oh, yeah, it is. That is.
Yeah,
Oh,
really
it's
pretty.
still a little dirt on it.
Well,
Don't
yeah.
worry, Nikki. Let Mary clean that up for you.
All right. So do y'all want to do, how much time do we have?
We got 2 minutes. No, I'm kidding. We got 4 minutes.
Really?
5?
Okay.
5
so
minutes?
really quickly before we wrap it up, we're going to do, first of all, I want you to just briefly, did I touch on what y'all do enough? Like, we're going to have a class,
What did they do?
shadow work, and Tracy's here all the time, reading, healing. She also, can I talk about your book?
Yeah.
So Tracy just got back about a month ago from, it's not been a month, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, a few weeks.
From the Albuquerque, what was it called?
It's the Gay Rom Lit Retreat. It's kind
So-
of like a convention and book signing.
So she is an author, published author. Her first book was Son of a Preacher Man, and she gave away penises, crystal penises,
Tiny
to
crystal
all the
penises.
tiny
Crystal penis.
penis to all the people at the and it was a big hit, right?
Yeah, they
Everybody
got-
loved you.
They got my business card with Nicole Willebrook and a tiny crystal penis.
Yeah. So, and you're working on your. Did you turn in your second book?
I'm almost finished with it.
Well, you better hurry
TikTok,
up.
TikTok. Yeah. Oh, I'm kidding. And then you already have another one you're working on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
have
So
another
get her
one.
book, Son of a Preacher Man. Come get healings and readings and all that, and then we'll keep you posted on Jennifer's class. And who knows? She may have another class. You may both may have classes on this because y'all have a lot of input on it.
Could be
So
a joint class.
it could be. Let's do quick readings. The way we're going to do it is we all each have a number 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know which. We know what number we are. You don't. I'll tell you later. So we're all going to do a brief reading. So right now, if you're listening or watching, if you watch later, rewind or whatever it's called. What's it called? A rewind?
Yeah, it's a rewind.
Is that what you call it?
Replay.
A replay.
Hashtag
Thank
replay.
you.
Hashtag
A replay. Then stop it, pause it, pick a number 1, 2, 3, or 4, and that will be your reading for the week. Okay? So, and just because we're going to start in this order doesn't mean that it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So you're going to go first, Jennifer. Oh, do you want me to go first?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
go first. Okay, so I'm going to use charms, and I'll keep it brief.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
I'm going to try to go a little more than you do. Whatever you do, I'm going to do it twice as much.
Okay.
Clothespin. Does that mean you need to go do the laundry? Oh.
No, especially not now. Okay, so this is interesting because if you picked mine, we'll tell you at the end what numbers we are, but if you picked mine, I got this this is like one of the Egyptian goddesses, right?
Nefertiti.
Yeah.
Nefertiti or whatever. And what I get immediately is what I was talking about earlier, as it's sort of like not necessarily wanting to know things about your past, but that sometimes it could be a good thing. And I'm talking past life. So everything I said earlier, this reading's telling me a little bit something different. It's saying that it could serve a purpose. Because I get the clothespin immediately, and I thought about just something I don't want to not see, but like smell. I just don't want to know about it. I just want to cut it off. And then I get this beautiful little shell that I feel like also it's just a time to take a retreat and actually some time to yourself, and do be open, not only your eyes, but all your senses to everything and all aspects of yourself. If you chose mine, I believe that you probably have some strong, one of your pantheons might involve some characters or gods or goddesses, whatever you want to call them, or ascended masters from Egyptian culture. Okay, you want to go next?
Oh, I hadn't even looked at mine.
You want to go next, Jennifer? Is somebody ready? Tick tock.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
Those are pretty cards. And so Jennifer's reading from the Sacred Rebels Oracle by Alana Fairchild.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, so if you pick my number, one of the first cards that comes up is Diving for Light. And actually, the thing that I kind of pick up in this is more so that, and this is a week reading, I'm guessing, right?
Yes, for the week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That, especially with the Mercury retrograde that's coming in, it's really time to start reflecting on your own journey and committing to what is it that you want to do. So it's really calling for you to start seeing what is happening in your own spirituality and your own spiritual practices. The next card I see is The Word Wants to Be Written. And I find this really interesting because when I work a lot with my clients, I talk a lot about how journaling and how writing out is one form of allowing you to kind of get in touch with your shadow. And so I think that that's just this other aspect of it. And it speaks especially to what I have them practice to do. So if you are working on your own shadow and you're ready to take that into effect, I think this is truly the time to start writing and listening to your own shadow side, and that can be through journaling. I find it really elemental, especially when this card is showing butterflies, which shows a lot of transition periods happening. So that really speaks to what we're about to go into through this month of November itself. It's kind of setting it up. And that last card I have is Listening for Truth. Oh, perfect for shadow as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really kind of just digging into being honest with yourself, because part of that shadow work is truly allowing yourself to kind of just be quiet, be in the moment, and accept the honesty that's the humbleness of what's approaching you. And it sometimes can be a little bit hard to hear the truth, but I think that's what it's really asking you to do, is just listen.
It's kind of like this. Like, I don't want to know. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to any sense it. But yet, we need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to go next?
Sure. So tonight I am reading with the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot. I pulled 3 cards because Michelle never lets me pull 3 cards. So I got Queen of Swords, the Hangman, and the Knight of Wands. So for the week, if you've picked my number, so if you picked my number, what I'm getting is actually there's probably a lot of challenges coming toward you that you're really going to have to take a step back. Your first instinct is like, yeah, come on, come at me, I got you. But really what you need to be doing is actually taking a step back and kind of looking at the whole situation of why these challenges are coming at you, and really what's your best course for your outcome. You don't want to be just kind of a quick charge, reaction, knee-jerk reaction to this. Just kind of set back, pull yourself back out of the situation, and see what actually is going to be your best outcome there. Okay.
Oh, good. Tracy?
I am reading with the Mausolea Oracle of Souls.
Love these.
And you guys have these in
Yes, we
stock?
have them.
Yeah.
In stock.
And they are actually kind of cool. And the cards that I picked are saying something very similar to what Roger had said. The first one is Set, the Prince of Avarice. But it's kind of about short-sightedness, ambition, and narcissism. To me, that's kind of saying that there's a lot of people right now, especially with the where we're at in Mercury retrograde, who are jumping to conclusions and are wanting to say the first thing or do the first thing that pops into their head. But, sometimes that first thing that pops into your head is just you wanting to hear yourself talk, which is not doing anybody any favors, especially not you. So if you find yourself doing that, the second one is Anubis, the Arbiter of Truth, and the keywords on here: preservation, neutrality, and obligation. And Anubis, one of the things he does, he actually helps us with shadow work, but also in finding balance and in being more about our heart and doing what makes us feel lighter, not what makes us feel heavier. And while you might feel great getting that thing off your chest, without really taking anything else or anybody else into consideration, it's going to make you feel like crap later because you're going to get kickback from that. And the third card is Thanatos, the Warden of Dis, completion, support, expediency. And I feel like that card is one of the most important ones, because if you find yourself wanting to just kind of not be considerate of other people and say things without regards to whether or not you're really just acting out of spite or acting out of something that is better left, thought in your head, but not out of your mouth, you're going to find that there are a lot of people that jump to your support. But you're going to find out that more people are going to turn their backs on you, because while you had this knee-jerk reaction to it, people are going to have their knee-jerk reactions to you, and you could find yourself losing a lot more than just an argument.
Okay. I love those cards. Two of those cards we actually have bracelets for Set and for Anubis. I always call him a newbie.
This is Anubis.
Anubis is right there. That's one of our most popular ones, yeah. We also had this deck that I just wanted to show you guys. It's the Dark Goddess deck. It's one of the decks that Tracey pulled that said is really good for shadow work too. And I pulled a card. I won't spend a lot of time just to tie in, and it's interesting. It says at the bottom, knowledge, and it totally ties into, I love synchronicity, and it just looks like the cards that the charms that I pulled, all right? And so I'm going to add on to mine, to be open to the knowledge that you gain from your shadow work. So, and there's shells on the side of it. I mean, good gosh, synchronicity. Okay, so I will tell you the numbers. We were this way, right? 1,
Yes.
2, 3, 4. So if you chose 1, it's Jennifer's reading. If you chose 2, it's Tracey's reading. If you chose 3, it's my reading. If you chose 4, it's Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers' birthday is reading. And that's it. Is it enough time, right? We're over, right?
Oh, well, we're over.
Huh?
We're
Did we go
over.
over? We're way over. Okay. So thanks, you guys. Thank you guys, especially for coming with short notice. It always is short notice on our show, though. So actually, with notice. So thanks for everybody joining us tonight. And you can listen to SoulWhat on Spotify, the iHeart Radio app, Google Podcast, iTunes, and of course by watching live on YouTube at Michelle Soultopia and on Facebook at SoulWhat. Thank you for listening to SoulWhat, where we discuss and you decide what's important to your soul. Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.